Mob Entertainment made DogDay the main character, that is why he is alive and returning in Chapter 6. Before we start, let me be clear about the rules I am setting for this video. I am not going to repeat the tired argument that DogDay is alive because we never technically see the moment he dies. That theory has been made 100 times already. What I want to do instead is dig into the details. Almost nobody talks about the visual choices in Chapter 3, the structure of the official Smiling Critters material, the exact wording of the dialogue, and the pattern of how Mob Entertainment treats characters they intend to bring back. Every claim I make will be labeled either confirmed, meaning it is directly shown or stated in the game and official media, or theory, meaning it is my own connection built from those confirmed pieces. I am not inventing new lore, I am only reorganizing what already exists into a pattern nobody has fully laid out yet. Section 1, the framing of the jail cell. Confirmed. When the player first finds DogDay in Chapter 3, he is suspended by chains in a cell inside Playcare with the lower half of his body missing. This is treated by almost every reaction video as pure shock imagery, a horror beat, and nothing more theory. But look at the staging again. He is not lying in a pool of ruin like a discarded prop. He is positioned upright, chain deliberately displayed the way a specimen is displayed rather than the way a corpse is discarded. Mob Entertainment has used display staging before with bigger bodies characters they intend to keep relevant. Think about how Catnap himself is first shown suspended and staged rather than simply left broken on the floor. The visual grammar of being suspended and framed in Poppy Playtime tends to mark a character as significant to future chapters, not a character being written out. Section 2, the angel line. Confirmed. DogDay refers to the player as an angel and treats them as an emissary of Poppy. This is one of the only times in the entire series a toy character expresses religious devotion toward the player rather than toward the prototype. Theory: every other toy who worships the prototype in Chapter 3, including Catnap, is explicitly punished narratively for that devotion. When the prototype turns on them, DogDay is the single character who breaks from that worship pattern and redirects his faith toward Poppy and by extension toward the player. If Mob Entertainment is building a mythology where devotion to the prototype equals destruction and devotion to Poppy equals survival, then DogDay is the first toy in the entire series coded as being on the surviving side of that religious divide. That framing matters more the closer we get to a chapter that many expect to focus heavily on Poppy herself. Section 3, the cardboard cutout. Audio. Confirmed. Hidden inside the cardboard cutout of DogDay in Chapter 3 there are voice recordings warning the player to leave the factory. Almost nobody discusses why these recordings exist in a cutout specifically tied to DogDay rather than any other character. Theory: cardboard cutouts throughout the series function as a kind of memorial marker for toys who have died in the story, yet this is the one cutout carrying an active protective warning rather than a static piece of scenery. This is not proof of anything on its own, but it is an unusual outlier in how the developers use that particular prop, and outliers in a Mob Entertainment chapter are rarely accidental. Section 4, the achievement list. Nobody reads as lore. Confirmed. The official Chapter 3 achievement titles are exact studio text, not fan wording. The achievement for defeating Catnap is titled Power Nap. Defeat Catnap. The achievement for the DogDay encounter is titled Not All Dogs Go to Heaven. Escape DogDay, and the achievement earned by dying to him is titled Puppeteer. Get killed by DogDay. Theory: achievement text is written by the same team writing the story, and it is one of the few places the studio has to summarize an event in their own words outside of dialogue. Notice that Catnap gets the verb defeat, which is a final and conclusive word, while DogDay only ever gets the verb escape, which is a survival word used for evading a threat, not ending one. Even more telling is that the kill credit for dying in that scene is not named after DogDay at all. It is named Puppeteer, a term for someone controlling a body from outside, which quietly matches the in-game explanation that the mini critters are the ones hijacking him in that moment. By choosing Puppeteer instead of DogDay for the kill credit, the studio is separating the character from the body at the exact moment most viewers assume he dies, and by choosing escape instead of defeat for the encounter itself, they are avoiding calling this scene a death in their own internal language. This is not proof, but it is a very unusual and very specific word choice pattern that lines up with everything else in this video. Section 5, his role among the Smiling Critters as a structural role rather than a personality trait. Confirmed. DogDay is repeatedly described in official material as the leader of the Smiling Critters, the one who tries to protect and calm the others. Theory: but notice that every single other Smiling Critter we meet in bigger body form in Chapter 3 is shown as either fully monstrous or fully destroyed, while DogDay alone retains coherent speech, memory, and moral resistance against the prototype even while being consumed from within by the mini critters. If Mob Entertainment wanted DogDay gone for good, there was no narrative need to preserve his intelligence and his voice all the way to the final second. A character being written out permanently does not usually get to keep the clearest head in the room during their own death scene. Section 6. The mini DogDay appearance in Chapter 4. Confirmed mini versions of DogDay appear in the Safe Haven section of Chapter 4. This is fact, not speculation. Theory. The common read is that this only confirms the swarm survived and nothing more, but consider that Mob Entertainment chose specifically to keep the DogDay identity visually recognizable in miniature form rather than folding those critters into a generic swarm design. Other possessed or destroyed characters in the series do not get this same treatment of a clearly labeled miniature callback. This suggests the identity of DogDay as a named individual matters to the writers beyond Chapter 3, not just as a swarm origin point but as a character thread they are actively keeping visible on screen. Chapter after chapter. Section 7. The pattern of returning bigger bodies confirmed. Catnap despite an apparent death in Chapter 3 becomes central again through Chapter 4 and Chapter 5 in altered form. Huggy Wuggy despite dying in Chapter 1 returns physically restored by Chapter 5. Theory. Mob Entertainment has now used the fake-out death and later physical return structure twice with two separate major bigger bodies characters. A pattern repeated twice in a horror series built around toy resurrection technology is not a coincidence. It is a template and DogDay fits the exact shape of that template better than almost any other character. He has an unclear final moment, he has narrative importance left unresolved, and he belongs to a toy line, the Bigger Bodies initiative that the story has already proven can be rebuilt or reanimated. Section 8. The unresolved threads. Chapter 6 needs to close. Confirmed going into Chapter 6. The fates of Huggy Wuggy and Kissy Missy are left open after the prototype attacks them and Poppy has been taken by the prototype with a stated intention to fix her. These are confirmed unresolved plot threads from the ending of Chapter 5. Theory. If Chapter 6 leans into the religious framing that Chapter 3 introduced, then a redemption arc for a toy who already rejected the prototype and pledged loyalty to Poppy becomes narratively useful. DogDay is the only bigger body character established as devoted to Poppy rather than to the prototype before that devotion was ever tested by the endgame stakes we now see in Chapter 5 and Chapter 6. Bringing him back would not just be fan service, it would complete the religious contrast the writers set up all the way back in Deep Sleep between the followers of a false god and the followers of the real hope of the story. Section 9. The color language nobody talks about. Confirmed. DogDay is built around warm bright yellow and orange tones, the classic sun-themed mascot design, while Catnap and the mini critters that consume him are built around deep blue and near black tones. This color contrast is present in every official piece of art, including the Chapter 3 promotional material. Theory. Mob Entertainment consistently uses warm colors in this universe to mark characters aligned with hope or survival, and cold dark colors to mark characters aligned with the prototype and corruption. Poppy herself is designed with warm pink and soft tones for this same reason, a character whose entire visual identity is built as the warm-colored opposite of the thing destroying him is a strange character to permanently erase from a story that still needs a symbol of hope going into its final stretch. Keeping that warm color identity alive in some form, even a scarred or altered form, fits the visual language the developers have used consistently since Chapter 1. Section 10. The difference between a death scene and a disappearance scene. Confirmed. When characters are confirmed dead in this series, such as several of the human staff shown in VHS tapes or the fully destroyed critters we see turn to husks in Playcare, the game gives the player a clear visual body or a clear final state. Theory. DogDay is the rare case where the game gives sound without a final image. The scream is heard but the outcome is withheld entirely. This is different from a simple horror jump scare, because Mob Entertainment has shown restraint before, specifically when they intend to revisit something. This same withholding. The studio has a demonstrated habit of hiding the true outcome of a scene, specifically when a character still has unanswered story potential, and DogDay fits that pattern better than most. But there is one important difference. DogDay's scene does not give us a confirmed death, it gives us a transition. The mini critters take control of him, the player escapes, and the story moves on without showing us what ultimately happens to DogDay himself. That distinction is important because the story does not need to answer his fate immediately. If Mob Entertainment wanted to use him again later, they already created the perfect setup for his return, and that brings us back to the main question: why would Mob Entertainment leave so many unusual details around one character? Because DogDay is not written like a random bigger body that exists only to scare the player. He is the leader of the smiling critters. He understands what is happening inside Playcare. He recognizes the player. He rejects the prototype's ideology. He warns the player to leave, and even after being taken over, his identity remains recognizable through the mini critters. That is a lot of narrative attention for a character whose story supposedly ends in one encounter, and this is where all 10 sections connect. The jail cell gives us the unusual visual framing. The angel line connects DogDay to Poppy. The cardboard cutout keeps his protective role alive. The achievement wording leaves his encounter strangely separated from a normal defeat his leadership gives him importance among the smiling critters. The mini DogDay appearances keep his identity visible. The return of other bigger bodies proves that apparent endings are not always permanent. The unresolved Chapter 6 story gives him a reason to return. His visual design creates a possible symbol of hope against the prototype, and finally his scene never gives us a clear confirmed final state. None of these clues alone proves anything, but that is not the argument. The argument is that when you put them together they form a pattern, and that pattern makes DogDay's return feel less like random fan service and more like a possibility that the story has been quietly preparing for. To be completely transparent, I am not saying DogDay's return is confirmed. There is no official statement from Mob Entertainment saying that DogDay will appear in Chapter 6, and I am not claiming to have inside information or a leak. What I am saying is that DogDay has received an unusual amount of narrative importance, and his story has been left with more unanswered questions than most characters from the smiling critters. The important part isn't one clue, it's the pattern, his introduction, his dialogue, his relationship with Poppy, the achievement wording, the mini critter connection, his role as the leader, and the way his final scene is presented all give us reasons to question whether Chapter 3 was really the end of DogDay's story. So maybe DogDay isn't just another character who survived the horrors of Playcare. Maybe Mob Entertainment has been setting him up for something much bigger, and if that is true, then Chapter 6 could finally be where DogDay's story continues, because sometimes the biggest clue isn't what a game shows you, it's what the game deliberately refuses to show you. So what do you think? Is DogDay actually coming back in Chapter 6, or are all of these clues just coincidences? Let me know which piece of evidence you think is the strongest, and I'll see you in the next DogDay theory, and like and subscribe for more mind-blowing DogDay theories.